all I've got to say is be ready, because you never know how the Lord is going to use you, when the Lord is going to use you, and for what purpose the Lord is going to use you. When you raise your hand and say, Lord, use me anyway, take note, because he has taken notice of that. Listen, my guest today, Sedric Brinson, he is an incredible young man who has a heart for giving, who has a heart for reaching out and embracing others. He has a tremendous testimony. You're going to enjoy his story today. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with my guest, my friend, Sedric Brinson. Hey, thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited that you are here. This is one of those, all of our programs, listen, I've said this many times to you before. Every guest on this program has been providentially appointed. Now, that's a big old theological word, which simply means that God chose the guest. And every guest on this program, God has set him or her in the studio to share their testimony, to share their journey, because I believe that you've been appointed to watch this program because either you need to be encouraged, you need to be inspired, you need to be challenged to embrace your divine purpose and live with the spirit of excellence, that you matter. And even though I've said all of my guests have been providentially appointed to be on this program, just a few of my guests I've not had a long relationship with. I've not known them for a long time. But you can believe that I trust God enough that if they're on this program, it is because God has done something so miraculous that I've invited them because they have something to share. My guest today, Sedric Brinson, he is that person. I had an opportunity to meet Sedric last year. This is 2026, all right. I had an opportunity to meet him early last year, 2025, in our local gym. And I'm going through my stations, and all of a sudden God says, look. And I looked, and there were two guys. They were talking. They were by, I think by the elliptical, and they had stopped, and they were talking. And God says, I'm going to give you a word, and just go butt in and share with them what I've given you to share with them. I did. Once I did, I walked away and went about my business. Several times later, I saw Sedric in the gym, and we just developed just a wonderful exchange of pleasantries. But he's here today. He's here today because a friend of mine told me that you need to have Sedric on your program. He has such an incredible testimony, and he needs to share his testimony. He needs to share his journey. I said in the promo a moment ago, and I know this is kind of a long, monologue, but I'm trying to set it up. I said in the promo before the program, I said, when you raise your hand and say, Lord, use me, anytime, any place, for any reason, after all, we're his. Use me, Lord. You may forget it, but the Lord won't forget it, because what you did was made a vow. You made a covenant with him. Lord, I am available for you to use me anytime, any place, for any reason. And that day, the Lord says, I'm going to use you to go share a word to encourage the young man that Sedric is standing by, encouraging himself. Because later on, you're going to develop such a relationship with him and credibility with him that you're going to invite Sedric on your program. Where here he is, Sedric Brinson.
Wow.
Man, welcome to Defining Moments.
Thank you so much. Oh, God. I don't even know. I don't have words after the monologue.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just that impactful, just that intense, and just that confirming.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Thank you for having me.
I could have read your bio, which is appreciable for a young man to have accomplished all of the things that you have accomplished. Man, I want to honor that. Yeah. Your academic background, your corporate background. It's very impressive. But not to insult you, and not to insult you, ladies and gentlemen, because you tune in because you know that I like the younger folks say, I keep it 100. Well, they actually say I keep it 100.
That's right.
You know, I keep it real. All of that matters, but what matters most is, man, I understand there are people out there that are suffering. Yeah. There are people out there that are on the verge of giving up, on the verge of about to jump off the bridge, literally.
Yeah.
There are people out there who are on the verge of snorting, going and engaging in illicit activities because they feel hopeless.
Right.
Well, I remind them that there is hope. You don't have to throw in the towel. There is someone that loves you. That no matter what you're going through, that there's someone who cares. Right. If everybody on planet Earth, these billions of people on planet Earth, if they don't care about you, the Lord Jesus Christ, he cares about you. Yeah. But how interesting that the Lord would give us testimony to make ourselves legitimate so that when we minister to other people and they ask us, well, how do you know? Mm-hmm. Then we share our story and we tell them, I don't look like what I've been through. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell the story how we met.
Whew. Oh,
Sedric.
My goodness. Well, in your monologue, you talked about how the Lord gave you a word to come over. There was a buddy, my best friend actually, from high school. We live in the same area, and so that's one of the ways that he and I stay connected. We go to the gym, and that particular day, he had gotten some news earlier in the week that, you know, he had some health, a couple of things that he was dealing with his health, and
some serious health matters.
Yeah, and he was kind of worried and troubled. And so in that moment that you saw us, what you saw was me telling him in that moment, hey, you know, go to your appointment. You know, we know who the great physician is. I was already sort of ministering to him because that appointment was later that afternoon. Well, trying to get him encouraged to go to the appointment, that God had it all under control. He had you walk up, and like you said in your monologue, you just interrupted. Yeah. You know, and
I didn't know you from Adam House Cat or
right.
him.
And it happened so fast that we didn't even have time to say, who is this guy? Yeah. You know, just butting in our conversation. But you came in and you said, look, I don't know what you guys are going through or anything, but the Lord just had me to step over and tell you guys that whatever it is, it's going to be fine, and he's got you. And you literally walked away.
I did.
You just walked off. And that left he and I standing there like, okay, what just happened? And I said, nothing just happened except the confirmation that you needed to go to your appointment this afternoon. And I'm here to let you know that he did that. And whatever it was that was ailing him going into that appointment, he got there and he left there with a clean bill of health. He called me on the phone and he was in tears saying, dude, the thing that I went there for a couple of months ago, they said it's not even troublesome anymore. But just without giving all the details of his you know, findings or whatever. He's crying and he's like, we both were left speechless. So I saw you again in the gym. And this is where you and I really connected, because I called you over and I said, you don't know what you did. I told you about my buddy's response at his appointment that day. And I said, but it was something different. I thanked you for your obedience for coming to us, because that's not easy for the average person. Nobody, you know, it takes people like you and I who just are sort of bold in that fact to go up to people and just share what was laid on their heart at the time. But I thanked you for the obedience that you had. And then I started sharing some personal things with you as far as my calling and kindred spirits aligning. And I was thankful that he would, you know, put you in that place for me to know that I was not alone in that phase, because I too tend to butt into people's, you know, conversations, or I'll see people and he'll tell me, all right, this person here needs to hear from me, and I need you to get him the message. And I leave myself open a lot of times to doing that, you know, and it's so intriguing, because I can be in a room of 1,000 people and he'll say him or her They need to hear from you. And the confirmation is always when I share what I share with them, the tears begin to flow, or the emotion is so high. And they tell me, Sedric, you have no idea what I'm dealing with or what I've gone through. I needed this in this moment. I had a guy that told me, Sedric, I was done. I was done. If you hadn't come over, who knows what? And so I'm so thankful for those opportunities. But, you know, we are called to be disciples and to be, you know, missionaries out here in the field of life. And so I don't take those opportunities for granted. And so whenever that happens, I get somewhere to myself, and I just thank him for not only the opportunity, but the utilization of being a vessel. You know, he's literally saying, I can trust you with going to take on this assignment that I need you to take on.
And I've learned, Sedric, that God, he does things so unusual that you can only assume or conclude this must have been God.
Yeah, had to be.
Because God does not do things out of the norm. For me, he speaks to me in very extraordinary ways. Mm-hmm. God speaks to me through nature. But I sense someone right now who feels beat down. They are afraid. They feel alone.
Yeah.
They're lonely. Possibly have gotten some bad news, health report, or just feel beat down by life.
Yeah.
I want you to look at them and I want you to encourage them now.
Yeah.
Based upon your own relationship and your own journey with the Lord. Mm-hmm. I want you to look at them and encourage them.
Yeah. Well, just based on that alone, it's the relationship. It's the relationship piece. You have to develop a one-on-one. First off, it comes with the acceptance that there is something that I'm dealing with, God, that I know that I cannot handle on my own. And so to get in a place where it's just you and him, you're breaking down the walls, you're breaking down the barriers, and I promise you that he sees you. For those that might be contemplating the harshest of things, suicide, taking your own life, doing harm to others, God sees you, he hears you. All he's waiting for is the entry. He's never going to force himself on us, but he's waiting on the entry for you to allow him to come in so he can reshape, renew, restore those moments in your life where you thought that it was over. I'm here to tell you by experience, by shared experience with others, friends, family, he is willing and able and open, but he has to have that entryway to come in and do those things. And I believe that there are some that's watching today that are right there. They just need the entry. He needs the entry. And so unlock the door, let him in, and watch him. I'll hold myself accountable because of experiences that I've gone through. Watch him do the work in you, because those trials and tribulations are not even yours. You're going through them because you're going to be shaped and molded, because you got to help the next person that's going to go through. And it's just like a married person. If you hadn't been married or unmarried, if you hadn't been married, it's not much you can tell me about marriage if you hadn't been there. So just like this, if you hadn't experienced some of the things that you're going through, he's shaping you. He's molding you to be able to help the next person. So if we can see it through the lens of community or the lens of just helping the next person next to you, it's so much more rewarding to know, okay, God, I'll be the vessel. You can use me. When you say, God, use me, like you opened with, it's so much that comes with that, because you got to be ready.
So when you say, and I want to break it down for folk, because I don't want there to be any ambiguity.
Yeah.
When you say you got to open the door, he's not going. He's a gentleman. He's not going to break in. He's not going to knock the door down. When you say you got to open the door, what does that mean?
It's the door to your heart. It's first of all accepting that I recognize that I am not the best version of myself, and that's a very deep, intentional place to be. When you can get somewhere isolated and say, God, I strip all of Sedric out of the way, because when I try to do it on my own, it hasn't worked and it's not going to work. So when I say open the door, it's the door to your heart, and understanding that until I do that, I can't allow you in, because he is a gentleman.
And
I
you know
love
what?
that synopsis.
And the word the Holy Spirit just gave me is to tack on to what you said. You've got to be willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Man, you've got to be open. You got to be vulnerable. You got to be and particularly for men, man, that's tough.
Yeah.
For men being vulnerable, because we're taught you got to be tough. You can't show emotions.
Yeah.
You got to be guarded. You can't let go. You got to look stiff. You got to look like you got everything under control. But guys, you got to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Ladies who think you run things, you run the house, you run him, the house, and everything else. Listen, you're out of alignment.
Oh my goodness.
That's just the bottom line. Yeah, I said it. If you think you running him and the house, and he's a godly man and doing everything, you are absolutely positively out of alignment with the design that God has for the home.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop. End of subject.
Yeah.
But men, if you feel beat down, husbands, if you feel beat down, if you feel ostracized, isolated, you've got to come to God.
Yeah.
and you've got to be vulnerable. You've got to pour it out on him, and you've got to allow him to love on you. What I hear you saying, Sedric, and then you've got to get around some community of positive people.
Yeah.
People that will tell you what you need to hear as opposed to what you want to hear. Godly people that will point you in the Word of God, as opposed to saying, well, if I was you, this is what I'd do. That's
right.
If I was you, that's what I'd do. Have gotten a lot of folk in trouble. And that's what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
You've got to first be vulnerable enough to open the door and allow the Lord. Because what I also hear you saying is there's no situation too hard for the Lord.
No, absolutely not. You talk about being transparent and vulnerable, and men. I remember my first speaking engagement. I was in Dallas at a big conference, and they had these breakout sessions, and this is the first time that I'm going to share my testimony with these corporate folks, right? So not knowing what to expect, because it's not church, but I have a platform now, and I'm going to use it to, edify God in all that I do. So I'm sharing this testimony of what God did for me a while back, and I'm mid-presentation and I am bawling, right? And afterwards, there was these grown men that they got a handful of tissues and they're doing the same thing, and they just said, man, we needed that. We needed to hear and see another grown adult break themselves down in front of the masses so we can understand the value and purpose behind your message. And so, not that I take to crying every speaking engagement that I do, I understand that it is through testimony that people are changed. You can quote articles out of magazines, and you can even quote scriptures, but it's testimonies, life scenarios that you've gone through that people can identify with and attach themselves to and say, wait, I went through that too.
Yeah.
So I'm not alone.
Yeah.
So it's that piece of not being alone and building community, like you mentioned earlier, that changes lives, man.
So, Sedric, I hear you now, persuasive, passionate, approachable. So what is Sedric's story? I mean, how did you get to the place? The title of this program, Defining Moments, the motivation of Defining Moments, the idea is that God gives each of us purpose. Yeah. Every single person that's born on earth has God purpose. God has purpose for them. Yeah. The Bible says we're his workmanship created in Christ Jesus unto good works that he prepared for us beforehand. Simply means that God created a situation and he prepared us to deal with the situation. Yeah. And so I know you're here, man of faith,
Yeah.
resolved, but what is your story?
Yeah.
What is your defining moment?
Well, I tell this story a good bit, man, and it has become hilarious because I'm the product of pastors. I am a PK. I'm a preacher's kid through and through. Pastors Terrell and Deborah Brinson, pastors for a long time. But my father owned a roofing construction company. And in my years of summers in high school and early college years, you know, I would be out there on him. And you're Mississippi born, bred. It's hot out here in the summer, man.
Oh, yeah.
And he would have me out on that roof. And, you know, the dead of summer, 12 o'clock, is hot. I had an epiphany one day. I was like, look, I'm going to tell my daddy that this ain't it, right? So the one day that I was on that roof with him, man, I said, Dad, this ain't it. I said, well, no, I take that back. I called my mother. I called my mom and I said, Mom, you gotta come get me. I'm not destined to be out on this roof. So come and get me. And you know, your mom is always your supporter, right? As far as the parenting goes.
Sure.
She's like, okay, baby, I'm on my way. Well, something happened between me talking to her and her talking to him, because he came back up the roof and he was like, you can forget calling your mama.
Ooh.
You're going to be out here with me until you figure out what you're supposed to do with your life. He said, because the one thing you're not going to be is lazy. You're going to work hard. You're going to garner the respect from individuals that you're encountering every day. He said, but right now you don't have a job. And so you're out here with me until you figure that out. And so that day turned into me wanting to show him up, right? So I went on the job hunt. I had a friend of mine that worked at this local bank here in Mississippi. And I said, man, I need to get in the door. If I can just get in the door, I'll take it from there. And so long story short, I got hired as a part-time teller at this bank. And I was able to tell my dad, yeah, I got a job. I don't have to go out here anymore. But little did I know, I was being positioned in a place where I would meet people, see people every day. And I don't know if you know anything about the nuances of banking, but it is so much more than cashing checks, making deposits, making loans and things. People come in, and when you're sitting across that desk from them, they open themselves up in so many ways that you're privy to.
Yeah.
And if they can trust you, they'll share anything. And so I started getting promoted within the ranks of that bank and things like that. And I saw myself coming home with a lot of the stories and the harsh things that people were dealing with. But it wasn't culturally how the bank operated. The bank was about transactions and getting what they can get out of the people and then sending them on. Well, fast forward to that, I was supposed to understand the relationship building piece of banking, but I kind of made a transition over into the credit unions, where their mantle was people helping people, which fit my passion of wanting to work and deal with people, right? So it was in their DNA. It was what they were made to do and how the credit union operated with people. So now I work with credit union leaderships all over the country, talking about culture and what it means to show up every day as the best version of self. Now you asked me what my story is, and I had to set that up.
But that's a part of your story.
Yeah, it is. And he's put me in a position to where my calling can work both corporately, professionally, and spiritually. But my defining moment was early on in my marriage.
And by the way, let me just put a pin there.
Yeah.
Some people feel as though they are schizophrenic, meaning they have two personalities. I can be this way on Sunday and I can be this way Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
But that's hypocrisy. God only created one of you distinctly with your DNA. And God wants you more. I told this gentleman after church on Sunday, I said, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your personality, because one thing that I've come to respect about you, you're consistent.
Yeah.
No matter where I see you, whether, because he and I sit on the same board together, I said, whether we're in the board meeting, whether you're outside, whether you're in the sanctuary, I said, man, you're very consistent.
Yeah.
Some people are not like that. Some people are hot and cold. You don't know what you're going to get from one day to the next day. Moody.
Yeah.
But consistency. Mm-hmm. That's the key. So
yeah.
You're sharing your corporate experience inside of your life.
Yeah.
You're shining your light in your corporate world, because that's a part of who you are.
That's right.
You can't cut your Christianity off.
Mm-mm.
If you can, it's religion.
That's right.
It's not relationship. So I appreciate you sharing the fact that you had to put yourself in an environment that you could express without hesitation who you are in the Lord.
That's right. Well, the biggest compliment I've ever received at a conference is, you'll see me a lot of times, I'll wear my cross necklace. It's become one of the staples as far as when I travel and I speak. It's one of the things that people know me by. And I wear suits and sneakers. Mm-hmm. And so this guy walked up to me one day at a conference, and he's like, why do you wear that? That's how he came to me. Why do you wear that? And I'm thinking, gosh, I'm about to have to defend my Jesus to this atheist or person that does not believe, whatever. And I was prepared to, but I said, okay, so what do you mean? It's just, I am a man of faith, and I believe in Jesus. And, I wear this cross a lot as a, just a confirmation of who he is and what he did for me. And he said, but you don't need it.
Wow.
He said, if you didn't have that around your neck, I would still see him.
Wow.
And there we go again. Here I go again. I'm off on the side somewhere, because I needed that in that moment. In that moment, he always is so strategic about getting messages to you. Perfect stranger. He didn't know me from anybody, but he said, why are you wearing that? You don't need that. He's all over you, man.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you said early on that you're a PK.
Yeah.
But even though you're a son of a mom and a father, pastors, preachers, evangelists, what your father basically shared with you on that roof is that, listen, you, in essence, man, you got to get this stuff for yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
You've got to develop the integrity of who you are for yourself.
Right. Yeah. Gosh, man, the fatherhood piece of that is so rich. We just shared this the other day. We were somewhere, and I told him I knew exactly when I became a man. I know the very moment it happened. I was somewhere, he had been buying my cars and stuff to travel with, cash cars here and there. But there was this one moment, I had a flat, and I called my dad. I'm in my early 20s now. And I said, Dad, I need a tire. My tire is down. He said, well, go get you a tire. Meaning, you got it. You got a job. Go figure it out. I knew then that it was over for as far as having to reach out to him. Now, if I needed something, surely I can go. But in that moment, he was saying, figure it out. I can't bail you out of every situation. And I took that, and I really understood what he meant. It was more than go get a tire.
Go get a tire.
It was, now it's time for you to grow in who you are called to be as a man, as a spiritual leader. At some point you're going to have a family of your own. Now is the time. And so I knew that, and I'll cherish that moment. We kind of joked about that just a couple nights ago at dinner. But my story, my defining moment was early on, 2007. My wife came to me and she said, babe, we're pregnant. We had just gotten married earlier in the year. And I don't know, for any fathers out there, when you get that news for the first time, there's a wealth of emotion that goes along. But those first couple of months, man, she was really, really sick. And so we went to the doctor, and the lady that's doing the sonograms and showing us the picture, she said, "Oh, I see why you're so sick." She's like, "You got twins here."
Wow.
And I said, "What? We got twins?" And I hit the floor. I'm like, "Oh boy." But then there was a piece of that. There was such pride that came along with that. You know, I started going to my boys. I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm having twins. I got 2 of them in the oven." You know how we talk. And but about 5-6 months in, she started having these complications and issues. And me not being a physician, I'm like, "Well, baby, you having 2 kids. You having 2, so it's just got you. It's just got you sick. It's got you down." And she was telling me, she's like, "No, I don't. This is not normal. Something. This doesn't feel right." She was trying to tell me, and you know, all I could do as the husband was just, you know, rub your back and tell you it's gonna be okay. But there was one moment where it got really bad, and so I rushed her in. I rushed her into the hospital, and her blood pressure had spiked, and she was experiencing something called placenta previa. And it is not normal, but it is something that happens when carrying twins or multiple babies. And that caused her to go into preeclampsia, and her blood pressure was spiked. And they said, "Mr. Brinson, we need a decision right now. If we don't go in and get those babies out, we could potentially lose your wife.
Wow.
So we need you to make a call." And in that moment, the selfish Sedric was like, "We're at Blair E. Batts, and we're at the best pediatric hospital in the world. Like, fix it.
Right.
Do what you got to do." And so I told him, I said, "Well, go. Yes, you have to do what you got to do." And they go in and they take the babies out, and we didn't know the state of their development and things like that. And so she pulls me back, and the doctor pulls me back in the hallway, and she says, "Mr. Brinson, you know, the babies are developed fine. They presume to be okay, but their lung capacity is not where it needs to be long enough to live outside of mom's body."
Wow.
And so I went, "Okay, so what does that mean? How long do we have?" And she said, "Well, if I have to give a number, it's like you may have a couple of hours."
Couple of hours.
And so that was gut wrenching. After telling all my boys and my friends, "Hey man, I'm having twins," you know, there's an excitement. So you're going from 100 to below 0 in a matter of a minute. And so I said, "Well, I don't want to waste time. My wife is out of it. She doesn't know any of this is happening. So I don't want to lose time." I said, "Bring them to me. Can you bring them to me?" And so they put me in this quiet room in this rocking chair, and there's a boy and a girl, Taylor and Tyler. And for 2 hours, Mr. Nix, I rocked those babies in that rocking chair. And I was thankful. I was thanking God for even the moment to be able to have with them. And I tell people it was the hardest, most precious thing that I've ever had to endure, as that brother and sister took their last breath at the same time.
Wow.
In my arms as I was rocking them. And so you heard of these stages of grief, right? So they came in and they got the babies from me, and they took them, you know, wherever they would take them. And I'm sitting in that quiet room, and immediately a spirit of anger came over me. And I know that it was selfish, because all I had heard was God tell me, "I'm gonna give you the desires of your heart. You're gonna go in places that you didn't think that you would." And I was like, "Promises? You just took probably the biggest promise that you could give to me." And so the question started running. I was upset, man. I was like, "You took my babies from me." Like, I had so many plans for them. You know, this is where we presume in our own minds of what our future is going to be. But it didn't include him in that moment, because I had already predetermined, I got a boy and a girl. I'm going to dress her up, and he's going to have swag, and this is what they're going to come to be. But he took them for his glory, for his reasons. But in that moment of frustration and hurt and anger, I still heard him say, you ain't seen the last of it. It's like, you're gonna have a story to tell that's gonna help people. In that moment, I did not want to hear that, Mr. Larry. I did not want to hear that. I didn't want to hear any signs or tell of that. And if that wasn't bad enough, the doctor comes back in and she pulls me in the hall and she says, Cedric, I got to tell you, as bad as that was and how as emergent as it was for us to have to go in and get them, we feared that we may have done damage. And now we're not sure if you'll ever be able to conceive again.
Oh, my goodness.
So now there's another fall. Because I'm like, okay, the promises would have been, okay, maybe we can try again. But now this doctor is saying, now you may not potentially be able to. Well, you guys just posted, I saw a picture that I had sent of the promise. And so,
in fact, I'm gonna ask my producer to put it back up.
Yeah. So we waited a while, a little bit after that, and when she comes back and tells me that she was pregnant again with my oldest, and as you can see, I got 3 boys out of that, man. Now, 17, my oldest there to the left, 14 to the right, and that little one there in the middle, he's 8. But I'm telling you, for anybody that wants to just get a closer look at that one, I'll FedEx him to you with no return label, because he has definitely been here before. But the story behind that is my oldest was born a month early, 36 weeks. And in my mind, I'm like, here we go again. She had issues. She had problems. Blood pressure was spiking again. We're back in the NICU where they're having to watch him. And I was like, man, not again. But he came out fine. A couple of weeks in the hospital, he was fine. She comes back and says, we're pregnant again. Having my second son. He was born 34 weeks.
Wow.
So a month and a couple of weeks early. And I'm like, I said, okay, God, we get it. I don't want to keep experiencing this. And then this last one, 32 weeks.
32 weeks.
32
Rather than
weeks.
going to term, it's coming down.
It's coming down. And I was like, but in the spiritual realm, he's saying, y'all are not in control of any of this. And so he's creating a story. So now I tell this story wherever I go, because the promises that we was talking about is right here. And he's showing you were never in control of any of this. My oldest right now, man, leads worship ministry at Word of Life. He has a zeal that I have never seen before in a young person. And my second son there is right on his coattail. I mean, I'll go in his room and he is in the Word. They're both in their Word. They're on the worship team. And I just turn and I walk out. I say, all right, God, he's y'all's. They belong to you anyway. I don't, but my wife, who is actually, she's a nurse and she works with cancer patients. And she had the option of working with NICU babies, but she felt like that would be a little tough in the realm of what she had gone through. But her passion was always to serve people. And so now she's on the backside of cancer patients, of helping them cope with their last days, or praying through what presumes as their last days, but she's helping them with treatments and things like that. So he has blessed me with a love, and when I look at them, they will always be a constant reminder of what we had to endure to be able to accept what we got on the back end. So the story or the journey is always purposeful.
Even I'm gonna ask you to hold that spot. Even when it seems painful, even in the midst of pain, God has purpose. And boy, if we can just get that, I'm not going to be insensitive.
Yeah.
Because pain is pain, and pain is painful.
Yeah.
But what I hear you saying is that the Lord will never leave us.
He will.
I want you to stay tuned. Our friend Kyle Reno, Senior Pastor Crossgate, he speaks about that very thing, about trusting God when it doesn't make sense to you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with my friend Sedric Brinson. We'll be right back.
Hey, my name is Kyle Reno, Senior Pastor at Crossgates Baptist Church. Here's a defining moment from this last Sunday.
Paul makes it abundantly clear that if we're weighing the gifts, if we're measuring how God intended for the gifts, the spiritual gifts of God to operate in the body, there's just a few things like prophecy. Few things that shoulder the spiritual significance. Let me give you the definition again. I borrowed from Pastor Sam Storms. Here it is. Prophecy is the speaking forth, the spontaneous revelation of God's mind and heart to encourage, to edify, and to console believers. The speaking forth of God's spontaneous revelation. What's in God's mind toward this person? What's in God's heart toward this person? Let me show you some scripture that back that up. Verse 3, on the other hand, the one who prophesies speaks to, you can break down every part of this, speaks to people for their upbuilding and encouragement and consolation. What Paul's saying is when God intends to give someone in his body with a gift of prophecy, it's for the building up of that other person. It's to encourage, it's to edify, it's to console, it's to bring clarity. It's God's way of speaking through some person to another person. It's that God says, I want you to get this now. God says, I got things in my mind that I want to be made known. I have things in my heart that I want to be felt.
Hey, thank you for taking some time to listen to that defining moment from this last week. If you'd like to listen to the sermon in its entirety, you can go to crossgates.org, and we would love to have you visit with us any week on any of our Sunday experiences or our midweek opportunities. I'd encourage you this week to take some time and really think about what moments right now are defining your destination. God has more in store for you. Hope to see you soon.
What does the name Story mean to you? Our team put a lot of thought in what story means to them.
Story to me, I think of the word legacy. I think of family, I think of people, I think of relationships. I think some of my most fond memories are sitting around listening to stories, and stories from all different backgrounds, all different cultures, all different types of family relationships, professional relationships, and how those relationships kind of transcend time.
Every day we tell our story, the story of our associates, of our clients, of the communities that we serve. That's the essence of the soul of the bank, and it's why being storytellers is so compelling to us, because we've been telling our story for the last 4 years, and now we can go out and really show the market who we are.
Being able to tell the story and incorporating that in our name, to me, is a sense of pride.
It's just a continuation of the people we serve every day, and their individual stories that have made this place so special.
We are trying to change from being seen as just a commercial bank to a bank that is for anyone and everyone, because we are. And that is why we want to change to Story Financial Partners, because we want to know what your story is, what brings you to us, and how we can be a part of your story.
We're growing, we're evolving, and I see us being very successful.
The future of the bank is so bright, you need sunglasses. I mean, it's incredible.
Our future is like it is now, continues to be bright and growing, and will always go upward.
I am very excited. I see it as reading a suspenseful novel based on a true story, of course, because we've had a wonderful beginning, and where we're headed here is a to be continued experience. I'm excited because we should never put a period there. We should always put a comma, because there are greater things to happen with our story. To be continued.
Hey, welcome back to Defining Moment. I'm with my friend Sedric Brinson, and he's sharing, boy, his personal testimony. It's hard to conceive. Your wife is pregnant with twins. You go out and tell everybody that will listen. After the delivery, the doctor comes in and say, your twins only have 2 hours to live. You take them, you hold them, and they transition in your arms. Yeah. Man, it's a wonder you didn't lose your mind.
Yeah, there were moments where I thought I was.
Then the doctor comes back later and says, in a rush to make sure that the toxins doesn't poison your wife's body, basically that's what they're saying, we may have done harm to her body that she won't be able to conceive again. More news.
Yeah.
But then the Lord blesses you with 3 sons.
Wow.
And so I understand now why you're telling the story.
Yeah.
Because he's done miracles in your what do you define as miracles?
I define miracles as things that you had absolutely zero control over. You couldn't determine the outcome at all. Your hands were null and void in the scenario, and he did what he does. That is a miracle in my point of view.
And God has shown you many times himself through what we can't explain.
Mm-hmm.
But for that person that's grieving now,
yeah,
whether that husband or that wife that's grieving right now, let's just go with the husband.
Yeah.
And now I want you to come back to the wife.
Yeah.
For the husband that's grieving right now because they have experienced loss,
yeah,
or they're going through a hard season right now, even if not through the birth of a child, they feel like the death of their dreams.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How would you encourage them then? And I certainly don't want to be so insensitive to think that I can compare the two.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the transition of a child and the death of a dream. That's no comparison.
Yeah.
But to that person, it's just devastating.
Yeah. Well, like we were talking before, we actually got rolling here. It's the positioning of getting somewhere and getting still. Because remember, I was angry. I was frustrated to the core. But there were moments where I got still because there was nowhere else to go. There's no words that a person can tell you that would ease.
How do you, and that's a hard interruption, how do you even minister to your wife?
There lies the challenge. Especially a wife who is in the medical field, who knows the lingo, knows what was actually happening to her, and I don't, or I did not. So the only thing that I could do was the husband thing, just rub her back, say, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. I'm saying that, but I don't know.
Yeah, you're afraid yourself. You're frustrated, still angry. You're working through your own emotions.
Absolutely. But as the leader, as men, we're always pointed in the direction of putting our feelings and emotions to the side to make sure that the next person is good. That's how we're wired, and I'm okay with that. I actually love being that person because we tend to carry so much more. My boys need to see me be able to carry the load and be able to be resemblant of a man. But that's just from a material strength, muscle, point of view. I discovered manhood in getting still and crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
That really demonstrated that, I'm only as good as he allows me to be.
Yeah, you're human.
Yeah. So
we're spirits in human bodies, not humans in spiritual bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say to that individual, that guy, that man that is grieving, visibly frustrated, at its core, I would admonish that they get still. And again, you have to peel back your own personal heart. And to your point, I don't want to be insensitive at all, because I knew what it did to me. But I was still hearing his soft, still voice saying, don't let that bother you. There is greater. You're going to demonstrate the greater, but you had to go through this. You had to experience it, because this is not for you. It's for somebody else.
Wow.
Do you understand how hard that is to conceive and process?
Yeah. It's
What
not
do you
for
mean?
you, but it's for somebody else. But you've got to go through it.
Right. So people ask, why me? And I asked, okay, why did I have to be the one chosen for this? Well, he shows me every day. When I meet strangers, his first assignment to me was at a credit union that I was managing. One of my employees came in the office. He was so happy. Sedric, I just found out I'm pregnant with twins. The first notion was, really? But God quickly inserted in my spirit, I need you to walk with him every step of the way.
Wow.
I was like, man, my first assignment he would give me was one of my employees who discovered he was having twins. And he and his wife went through some things, you know, and I was right there when I said, okay, this is what you can expect. This is what's going to happen. But you got to stay there with her. I was helping him be a husband to his wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be there. When she needs you, stop what you're doing. Be there. If it has nothing to do with work, we're going to see to it that you. And so I was able to help in there. And they have two beautiful, I think they're like 5 or 6 years old now, a beautiful set of twins, boy and a girl. And I said, okay, God, I see.
Yeah.
You had me placed here for that reason. And it was a test. And I knew it was a test. And I knew I had to pass that test, because I ain't going to help him. I didn't get my twins.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do for him? I didn't get mine. I could have took that approach. But I knew that God was using me in that moment. And he and I are really good friends today.
So would you consider your defining moment your most visible and transparent and resolute defining moment for Sedric, that your life pivoted, is when your wife delivered the twins? Because that's when, and again, let me give some context to defining moment. When God says, this is your created purpose, this is your path, now you can step in it and walk in it, or you can continue to push back on it.
Yeah.
Do you believe, was that moment, was it the roof with your father, or more important, from a spiritual, more methodical, analytical depth of purpose, do you believe it was that time when the Lord said to you, now I'm going to introduce you to the reason that you were put here on earth, and I want you to see me like you've never seen me before?
Yeah. My defining moment is recognizing, you know, my scenario was losing a set of twins, right? That won't be everybody's story that I encounter, but my defining moment was being in position to be able to recognize when people are dealing with something. And I have a word for them. And it has never failed since that day that he spoke to me and said, I'm going to use you to bless others in ways when they're down, they're out, they're questioning their existence, they're questioning their positioning at work, they're aspiring to do greater, but they don't see an avenue to get there. He has placed me in those positions to be able to get people off of that ledge and see the value that he has imparted in them. And so my defining moment is every time I'm somewhere and I'm sitting back and I'm saying, all right, God, I'm waiting for you. I'm here. I'm available. Show me who is going to be today. And Mr. Nix, it never fails. We can be at a restaurant. We can be in a 1,000-seat conference. He says, that person right there, that lady with the red dress, she needs to hear from me. And it's so funny because I was like, are you sure, God? All right, this lady, I've seen her a couple times.
Yeah.
She don't look like she.
Yeah.
He's like, that's her. And I go and I say what he gave me. And they immediately, they have this breakdown of, Cedric, you have no idea.
Wow.
You have no idea what I was about to do or what I was about to decide. I was about to leave this company. And a month or so later, they got promoted.
Wow.
Like, you can't make this stuff up. When you're walking in your purpose, he always confirms why. You'll never be
Hold on.
Yeah.
That's pretty profound.
I'm telling you.
When you walk in your purpose, he'll always show you the reason why.
You won't ever question, why am I doing
gotta write that one down.
Yeah. I mean, it's just fact. It's my fact. It's my truth. He has never once made me question why. He always confirms. Meeting you was a confirmation as to why. Sitting in this seat with this microphone in front of me is a confirmation that I am right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. So let me say this. So when people walk in the studio, 99.99999% of people walk in the studio, they go like, wow. So they're not wowing. And I don't want them to wow me. I want them to wow God.
Yeah.
Because my background is broadcasting. You've heard this many times. My background is broadcasting, but God says, now I want you to build a faith-based ministry, broadcast ministry. Because there are hundreds and countless of people out there who have stories. And they won't ever end up in the church, behind the pulpit. Maybe, maybe not. But I've given them an experience in life that they need to share, because there are others out there that the enemy is wearing them out. And they become recluse. They're hibernating. But they need to be encouraged. And I need, so here we go. I don't mean to sound flippant, but the Lord had me with a bunch of other folk who believed in the vision. The Lord had me to build this. You ready? For Sedric.
Yeah.
Let me say that again. The Lord had me to build this for Sedric.
Yeah.
Because the Lord knew that one day he was going to take the test and turn it into a testimony. Because there are those of you who are watching and listening, you're so despondent, you're so discouraged, that they needed to hear, thank you, Holy Spirit, they needed to hear the testimony of Sedric.
Yeah.
They needed to hear your story.
Yeah.
So why you, Sedric? Because God trusted you with the story. And he gave you the shoulders to bear it.
Yeah.
Why did he have me to meet you? God knew before you were born, before I was born, that he would have you and me sign up for gym membership, meet one another, gain credibility with one another, because he wanted me to invite you on this program. Listen to this. Ready?
Yeah.
Because it's about you.
Yeah. Oh, man, you see me. I'm getting a little emotional here because you have to be careful when you say, all right, God, I want I want to have impact because of what you've done for me. But you can't box him in.
And by the way, and I don't say this for as arrogant and prideful, this is a global program.
Wow.
This program through the network that God had me to launch, IgniteMS.tv, is a global network. There's not any part of the earth that this program doesn't hit.
Well, then I got to say this piece then, because we were talking corporately. You know, I was working at a credit union here locally on Lakeland Drive. And I know what I was doing for Mississippi. I know where my passion was for my community. But I was sitting at my desk one day and I said, God, I You have given me great opportunity, but I want to be able to give it on a broader scale, not for any pat on the back of my own, but I know what you've done for me, and people need to see the passion. They need to hear it. And I want to work with people from vast regions of the country. Remember I said it was a local credit union on Lakeland Drive. I was sitting at my desk one day, and I got a call from the Credit Union National Association, which is the umbrella for all the credit unions in the country. The guy on the other end of the phone says, Cedric, we've seen some of the work that you've done there in Mississippi. How would you like to bring that same passion, that same desire to help people to the National Association? Wow. And I said, that sounds great, but what does that entail? He said, we recognize that you're a passionate person, and your purpose is helping others. Well, that's what the credit union is made up of. So you will travel the country talking about the purpose behind helping people with their financial lives, as well as all the things that encompass that. Because I just told you that once you get people across that desk from you, they'll share their most intricate things with you, family, health, financial. They'll share it because they've seen this welcoming spirit, and they said, you have that, and we need that. So now I'm on a plane every couple of weeks. I'm in various hotels. I'm on various stages doing just that. But it's not even for the stages. It's for that individual that he was going to have me speak to.
That's right. That's right.
In California, in Texas, in Nevada, I've been in places that I would have never thought that a kid from Mississippi would go to and do. Yeah. And I've run out of ways and words to say thank you.
You know, for someone that may be saying, well, that's good for you, Cedric. That may be good for you, Larry.
Yeah.
But I have dreams and goals and ambitions and desires in my heart, and it just seems like I can't break through. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what I've learned. I've learned that if you trust God, if you really trust God, Cedric said you got to open the door, and you got to be transparent. You got to be vulnerable. If you really trust God, not if, but since God put that inside of you, that dream inside of you, that vision inside of you, and you desire to get it out, continue to talk to God about it. Get in your word and talk to God about it, and He'll give you direction. I promise you, you won't take that to the grave. Now, that ought to be enough to get you to start running. If you really trust God, slow down, get out of your own way, turn it over to Him. He won't let you take that to the grave. Yeah. You want to know why I know that? Because I was trying to do it my way, and it's hitting every brick wall possible. And when I let go of the steering wheel and say, fine, God, you got it. God said, now let me show you something. And God built this set. God said, let me show you something. Yeah. And God built and launched that network. God started bringing people. Devontae, my senior producer, my associate producer, Alexandria, graphics people, webmasters, social media content people. You see me, but I've said many times that there are many people that touch this program.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is God telling you? And He'll put people in your path that will catch it, and that will undergird you, and that will help you. But you gotta do it God's way. Yeah. You can't do it your way. You gotta do it God's way. Yeah. And God will bring people on the program like Cedric that will bear all. That will bear it all.
Yeah. Wow.
Just for you.
I took one word from what you just said, and it was trust. if he can trust you, if he know that he can trust you with it, that's why I'm thankful.
So how did you move, Sedric, from being angry in that still place once your twins, they breathed their last breath, you held them, and boy, how precious. What a precious memory that you have. How do you move from holding them, loving on them, and they felt that touch, by the way. They felt their dad. They felt their father.
Yeah.
So that time you invested, it wasn't wasted. You know. How do you move from anger to a great man of faith? Because there's some folk that are in the phase of being angry with God.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
I think what helped me move along was not wanting to be the person that a stranger would come up to and not be changed because of my selfish scenario. You know, I was grieving, and rightfully so. I could own my space of hurt and pain and whatever, but I also didn't want to be the reason that somebody else didn't or didn't see God.
Wow.
So I started to take ownership of the next person. I didn't want you to see me in the grocery store and deem unapproachable.
Wow.
And now I'm hurting you because you are looking, you're seeking the answer. And you can't get it from me because I'm stuck, you know, rightfully so. And I get, you know, and that's the insensitive piece, because I don't want to tell people how to grieve or how to process their hurt or frustration or whatever. But I told you, he kept saying there is a plan that's coming. And I'm like, okay, we'll see. But I also didn't want to be the deterrent of somebody who is seeking him or is seeking the answer. And I shone them off because of my own personal hurt. I had to put some of it beside me. And
you know, and I'll go back to it again. You mentioned earlier that you're PK, your preacher's son. And you relied upon your dad. Dad fixed this, your mom fixed this, they did it. But God says your dad said when you had a flat, Dad, I got a flat. Your father responded, okay, go fix it.
Yeah.
The Lord uses that same model.
Yeah.
That, okay, you relied on your dad and mom. Now here we go.
Yeah.
Now it's up to me and you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gosh, that you just took me back. You just took me back to those moments. I don't have anything else. There's nothing I could do.
Woo.
And when you think back on it spiritually, it's kind of hurtful, because I hated to put, you know, looking back, I hated to put God as the last resort. You know, I had gone through it, had talked to everybody but him, because that's where my frustration lied. And so all this time later, now I'm so remorseful and hurt that I made him, after I started talking to him after I hit rock bottom. And that's but he's so just and forgiving and righteous that he don't even remember it. You know, he doesn't even put me back there to dwell on that part of it. But I get so emotional, and I tell him, I said, God, I'm so sorry that I made you the last result of what I was going through, because who knows how many people that said, no, I'm not going to talk to him. He dealing with it himself. He can't, you know. That's not who he called us to be, even in hurt, even in egregious scenarios of life. You are really just the person that he needs to use. You know, when you think that you've done the worst of things or gone through the worst of things, you are just the person.
That's powerful.
That he's looking to use.
Well, you just encouraged him, because I felt somebody felt that one.
Yeah, been there. And the confirmation behind that is that he's still doing it. He's still giving me avenues to help others and to, demonstrate that same passion. I don't want to see anybody, man, not utilizing their gifts and talents. First off, based on fear or the what ifs. You mentioned that in the opening monologue, that the what ifs, man, the what ifs are a dangerous place to be. When he has told you, he spoke directly and said, you are this. You are made in the image and likeness of me. So go out and he's not asking you to create the wheel, you recreate it.
You and I go back to it for a third time, that you're a PK. But at some point, just like the eagle has to do for the eaglet, they have to burst them out.
Yeah.
But it seems like that which you've been taught, you cling to. How important is the Word of God in your life, Sedric's life?
It is the most important thing. I can tell you, we've talked all this corporate talk and how I've been blessed to, do these works that he's given me. But had I not been reared, or, I remember a pastor a long time ago, he said he had a drug problem. And we sat in the church like he had a drug problem. Well, he said, no, my mother drugged me to church. And
that's right.
I get that. So I understand that. So even though I look back on my upbringing, I can't tell you the countless times when my mom was like, get ready, we're going to church. And I'm like, man, tonight?
Yeah.
We got to go again? But, man, I'm so thankful. Because all you got to do is pick up a phone now. Look on the internet. You're going to see the egregious state of the world. And I just told you my sons, teenagers who are amongst conversations and scenarios, they could be into anything. I could be getting a call. I'm good friends with a few of our Flowwood PD officers. They could be calling me, hey, Sid, we got Braylon down here, man. What you want us to do with him? I just told you my boys are in their rooms, in the Word, watching the service, just to see if they missed anything without Dad having to tell them anything. So his Word is not only foundational, but it's what's going to carry us until he decides to come back.
So we only have a few minutes. Now you got to come back, don't you?
And I knew. Look, once we got started,
now you're just getting,
Oh gosh.
like the old fella say, we're just getting crunked up, because there's something brewing inside of you, Sedric, and the Lord is giving you avenues, venues, and platforms, and this is one of them.
I'm so grateful
that I just. I've got to get you back here.
If I can say one thing that
I want you to say whatever the Holy Spirit is giving you to say.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that He's also told me to do when I'm interacting with different ones is to relay the confirmation, so they don't feel like this was haphazard or just another day for them. I want to look you in your eyes and tell you that it hadn't been too long ago where I said, man, podcasts are the way of the world. Podcast is how messages are being delivered now. Podcast is where we are today from a technology standpoint. Ministry. Technology is what is increasing God's word and opportunity and just message out there, period. I said, I would love to be on a podcast right now because I feel like I have something to share, but I didn't know anybody that had a podcast or one that was relevant enough to, do what we were trying to do. But like you said, a year ago, the foundation was laid.
Yeah.
For today, I can now, when I get in my car, I'm going to say, God, you You always do it. I promise you, this was a prayer of mine. I said, I wanted to be on a podcast where I can pour my heart out with another like-minded individual. Not somebody that just wanted somebody to come and speak, but where kindred spirits will be aligned and they use their platform to give somebody an opportunity to share. And he did it in the form of what you've provided today and Ignite. And I'm just thankful for the confirmation that he always gives, man. None of it's by...
I've learned this, Cedric, that the Lord blesses us to be a blessing. The problem that the rich man had, God didn't have a problem with his riches. He had a problem with his heart. Because his heart said, and his mouth verbalized it, look at all of my wealth.
Yeah.
And rather than sharing it, I think I'll store up some more of my wealth. I'll just build a bigger barn. And the Spirit of the Lord came to him and said, thy fool, your soul is required of you tonight.
Yeah.
And in hell he lifted up his eyes. So God don't mind you having stuff. He don't want stuff having you.
That's right.
This program, this set, this network, this podcast, this radio it all belongs to God.
Yeah.
And I am privileged and I'm honored that he would choose me to and trust me enough to use the gifts and talents that he has placed inside of me for his glory.
Yeah.
Not to build bigger barns.
Right.
But to be a conduit, to be a pass-through.
Yeah.
For his glory and for the edification of people. And so don't despise small beginnings. Those of you, don't despise small beginnings.
Don't do it.
Let me say that again. Don't despise small beginnings. I know you want to jump out there and you don't want to, you don't want to own a podcast. You want to own a network. Well, the Lord has blessed us to own a network, launch a network, but we started out real small. And what you see is where we are, but it's not how we started. Let me make it more practical for you. God made the introduction between me and Sedric last year, early last year. He knew what he was doing.
Yep.
We didn't know. Only for almost 2 years later for Sedric to trust me enough to say, I know who he is. I've watched his walk. I've watched his presence. He has credibility. Sure, I'll accept his invitation. Be patient in the process. And I'm going to tell you something. God has more for you. Eyes have yet to see, ears have yet to hear. And I'm saying it on international broadcast. Eyes have yet to hear, see, ears have yet to hear. Have you even perceived in your heart? No. The wonderful things. I'm saying it on international broadcast. What the Lord has for Sedric Brinson. Remember that name.
Oh, wow.
Remember that name. Sedric Brinson. And it has nothing to do with your capacity. It has everything to do with your obedience and with your willingness and with your surrender. You said it, but as much as it was for them, it was for you.
Yes, sir.
Open the door.
Wow.
And let him in.
Wow.
I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds just to share a word of encouragement.
Yeah. Oh, boy. 30 seconds. I could do that. Just a word of encouragement. You had asked, a couple of questions prior to us getting started as a scripture that resonated with me, one of my favorites. And I go back and it was Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord, and plans for a future and of hope, of great hope. And it's confirmation in everything. He knows the plans for you. They're for a future and a hope. And I pray that you stand on the gifts, the talents that he's already planted in you. But it's just for you to own it, recognize it, and go forth, because he's already done the legwork. He just needs you to take the step. And consider this me taking the step. I greatly appreciate you and your ministry, this platform. I'm totally grateful. I do receive that there will be times that I'll get to do this again, and
you have no idea.
I'm thankful for this opportunity. I can't thank you enough.
You have no idea the stage that the Lord is going to trust you on. You have no idea. I sense it. I see it. You have no idea. Just remain faithful.
Yes, sir.
My guest today has been Sedric Brinson. And boy, I don't know about you, but I've been encouraged. That is the motivation, that is the inspiration of this program, is that you're inspired, that you're encouraged, and yes, you're even challenged. Some of us, we have to be pushed, and that's okay too, that you're challenged to embrace your created purpose and live it with a spirit of excellence. More than anything else, you matter. And boy, my time today with Sedric, I've been encouraged that even through difficult times, God knows exactly what he is doing. Sedric said that he is the chief physician. He knows how to perform surgery. He knows how. And he is precise, with that scalpel. He is precise. He knows exactly. And sometimes the cutting and the pruning and the refining may be a little painful. But he knows the plans that he has for you. The only purpose here is that you have hope for life. So thank you for joining us, and you'll be hearing more about my friend Sedric Brinson. Write it down. A defining moment. I'll see you next time. Be good to yourself and be good to others.